create new arguments to justify this whole debate on some kind of biblical or Christian grounds, and I find none. Because I never found a verse in the Bible where it says, all you white people are good people. We're going to take you to heaven. All these black people over here, of course, they're going to be cannon fodder. But all you white people, we're going to take you to heaven because you're chosen and special. I never found those verses in the Bible. And I've only read it 41 times. All right? And it's possible I missed some verses. So I cannot justify this stance. And when we go back and look at the history of this country, we find out that the Congress could have said, the rights, privileges, and immunities of the common law shall not be denied to any person on account of race. And then citizenship would be had as the right of every person born in America. But then if the Congress had done that, they wouldn't have bestowed a privilege. And if they don't bestow a privilege, they can't tax it. And so what they did, people, was they used the black people and the Oriental peoples to set up the precedent, to set up the game, and then they laid the trap into which all the white people walked. I got Social Security, chicken in every pot, 2 television sets, 9 refrigerators full of some old animal flesh that's going to lay there and rot until hell freezes over. And the bottom line is, you all went in there and they stuck the treble in your mouth and you just went like that. And what happened to truth? What happened to God's providence? Well, you see, we'd already given that up. We're depending on the providence of the politician who really cares about you. Wait a minute, what are you laughing about? These people are your servants, are they not? Of course, founding fathers would have said, he who does not serve the law serves no one but his own interest. Well, to make a long story short, when I started campaigning and pushing this agenda, I led the agenda with one thing: to restore the law to all people. And thus in California, we now have a movement going where we're using the proposition to restore first the 1849 Constitution as the superior law of California. See, like dummies, we wrote to the Secretary of State asking for the documents that ratified the 1879 Constitution and made it the law of the state. Well, the Secretary of State wrote back and said there ain't any. You laugh, but that's exactly what March Fong Yu said to us on her letterhead. Wasn't any private little letterhead or piece of card that she slipped under our door. She wrote back on her letterhead and said the documents you requested concerning the ratification of the Constitution of 1879 do not exist. So the first thing we decided to do was to place the Constitution of 1849 back in its superior position at law. Then the second thing we plan to do is to amend the Constitution of the State of California of 1849 and all others to read as follows. The rights, privileges, and immunities of the common law shall not be denied to any person or citizen on account of race. For the first time in the history of American law, all races will stand on the same footing, not of codes, ordinances, rules, and regulations, but they will all stand on the same footing at law. Because in law, there is protection for all of us. In codes, ordinances, rules, and regulations, there is only protection for those who can provide superior benefits to those who control the codes, ordinances, rules, and regulations. In other words, the wealthy. Everybody says, well, John, you're a tax protester. No, I have no objection to constitutional taxes. Well, what's a constitutional tax? Apportionment taxes. But then, as has been pointed out by several studies, if we had apportionment taxes, the rich in this country would pay 35% of all taxes instead of 3.5%. I have no objections to lawful constitutional taxes. You know, that's, everyone says the 14th Amendment, or the 16th Amendment, Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes, but that instituted the income tax. Well, the court said that the 14th Amendment instituted no new taxes. Then what did it do? Well, to know that, you have to go on to the next clause, without regard to apportionment among the states. What it did was it set aside the main body of the Constitution and effectively set aside apportionment taxes, and every wealthy person in the country thus acquired protection at our expense. Now, if you really stop and think about it, the 14th Amendment and the 16th Amendment are two of the most devious, diabolical, and vicious laws ever passed in the history of legislation. They gained nothing in terms of liberty for any man, woman, or child in this country. They gained everything in terms of the acquisition and growth of power of the federal government of these United States. We got nothing, people. Well, we got something, of course. That's really not true. I mean, you know, we got the privilege of paying income taxes. But the bottom line is that in every single case, in every amendment to the Constitution, after the first 10, the power of the federal government has grown at the expense of the power of the individual. Thus, through a partnership between the executive, judicial, and legislative branches of government, each washing the other's hand and backside, a partnership, informal partnership, prohibited, of course, by the Constitution, but a partnership nevertheless was formed in which they all cooperated in our best interest, which meant their best interest. Thus, in the other 7 portions of the agenda that we're proposing here tonight, we seek to drive wedges back between the executive, judicial, and legislative branches to prevent this kind of thing from happening again, at least in our lifetimes. Now, it may mean that even if we're 100% successful 150 years from now, someone will have found another way to beat the system, and then our great-great-great-great-grandchildren will have to go through and do the same thing we did. But then again, as the founders have said, the price of liberty is eternal vigilance. Thus, and this applies to the Constitution of California, you can put your own state name in when you wish to. The Constitution of California of 1849 shall have full force and effect for all those who seek its protection, and the same is hereby changed to exclude all reference to race. Now, see, that makes perfect sense given the prior recommendation, the prior item on the agenda. But it also goes further to make sure that we continue to shore up the foundation of law and the common law. Then we go on to the counties. Every county in California shall establish and maintain courts of common pleas based solely on English and American common law, the Constitution of the United States of America, and the Constitution of California of 1809. Where conflicts exist between common law and any other jurisdiction, the common law shall be of primary authority.